written a number of pieces over the years for youth choirs and school choirs, and whilst some things in our compositional process don't need to change when we're thinking about youth singers, there are some things clearly that it's good to have in mind when you're writing for younger voices. One of them, of course, is range of the voices. So depending on the age range, and clearly there's a difference between writing for sort of 7 to 11 versus, say, 13 to 18. So we could break those down into different groups. But generally speaking, you're probably going to think about the range not being so extreme as you might think on an adult semi-professional choir. So in practical terms, I'm thinking here about the higher end of the soprano or treble range. So moving up around D, E, F, F sharp. These can be quite high notes for youth singers. It's not that they can't sing those ranges, and if they are in a church context, perhaps a cathedral context, they'll be trained to use that part of their voice. But in general singing that we might find at say primary school level, we're probably going to need to think about C and D and E flat as probably being at the top of the range for our music, for our song. Similarly, as we go down, probably middle C, or perhaps slightly lower, bearing in mind that a lot of young singers will enjoy singing pop songs, which will take singers into a more soul-type range. So the B flat might be possible. It won't be a strong note. It's not going to be a loud note, but you could definitely think about using it. Now, when you're going to teach a song to a mixed ability group of young singers, clearly you don't want the music to be overcomplicated. Now, that's not to say that you can't make the music interesting and memorable, but you need to think about shaping the music in such a way that these singers will quickly get a sense of what they're supposed to do. The first line is Lord of wisdom, Lord of truth. Lord of wisdom, Lord of truth. Lord of justice, Lord of mercy. So the first part of that tune is incredibly simple, diatonic, staying within the home key of D flat major, and the harmony very simple for it as well. And the kind of lift moment in this song comes as we go into the chorus, where the words are, I am here, I am with you, I have called, do you hear me? And there I lift the music away. Again, there's a leap involved here to give us a contrast. I am here, I am with you. I strove in this piece to allow them as singers to come to the forefront of the performance without overcomplicating their lines. I knew that we wouldn't have huge amounts of rehearsal time together because all these participants were coming from all over the UK, and it was a very big, awe-inspiring occasion for all of us, not least those younger performers, and I wanted them to be able to sing a song that they could really get themselves behind and into, and I was very pleased that the way the song structured, I think, helped them to do that. So in 2017 I was asked by the Bach Choir to write a piece that they could use with their outreach programme. They have a very enterprising outreach initiative. They work in primary schools in the central borough areas of London, and each year they do a big concert where all the schools that are involved come together with the Bach choir, and they make a concert. And the piece they wanted me to write would be a series of songs, and it would be performed at this get-together at the end of the year. So I was mega excited. What was I going to write? Now, the thing about getting I think a good children's work is you do want to make sure that the words and the theme of what you're making will engage with your young performers, something that they can relate to, something that they find fun and thought-provoking. And someone made a suggestion that we approach the former children's poet laureate, Michael Rosen, to see whether he would be interested in working on some songs for this. One of the things that the choir were thinking about was the theme of London, which of course is a great theme. It's a very broad theme, of course. And I was trying to think about a title that could incorporate the word London in a sort of piece of word art that used other words. And what I came up with, messing around, was these 6 titles: Lights, Stories, Noise, Dreams, Love and Noodles. And when you organise those in a certain way, you can read the word London down through all of those words. That these individual concepts could be aspects of a city. So the idea of lights, stories, of course, because there are many, many stories in a city because of all the different people who come to a city. The noise, of course, very busy place, a city. Dreams, because people often go to a city to fulfill their dreams, or it might be their dream to visit a certain city. Love, because it's universal and we find it everywhere, including cities. And noodles, meaning food, basically. But of course it could be anything. And cities like London are so rich in the varied cuisines that have come to the city with different populations that have moved from different parts of the world. I went round to Michael's house. There's a piano in Michael's house, and we talked about music we liked. We talked about the blues. I seem to remember playing him a little blues. Actually, I think it was a bit slower than that. More of a kind of... He was singing along. We were making up a stupid blues song. And it felt very natural to work with Michael. He's very sort of musical and rhythmic wordsmith. So in the first song, this was actually inspired by Michael reading me the poem, and he was just reading Hand on the Bridge. Feel the rhythm of the train. Hand on the window. Feel the rhythm of the rain. And what you've got is, you've got a rhythm sets up, and they say, hand on the bridge,
feel the rhythm of the train, hand on the window, feel the rhythm of the rain, hand on your throat, feel the rhythm of your talk, hand on your leg, feel the rhythm of your walk, hand on the rhythm, feel the rhythm of the tide, hand on your heart, feel the rhythm inside, 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 hand on your rhythm, feel the rhythm of the rhyme, hand on your life, feel the rhythm of time.
in this, what I've done is I keep repeating round the same 16-bar pattern for the children performers, and I gradually add new elements. So the Bach choir come in.
Hand on the bridge, feel the rhythm of the train. Hand on the window, feel the rhythm of the rain. Hand on your throat, feel the rhythm of your talk. Hand on your leg, feel the rhythm of your walk. Hand in the road, feel the rhythm of your ride. Hand on your heart, feel the rhythm inside, 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 inside.
It just is a simple tune, and again it's something that I'm thinking in my mind is something that they can quite easily get themselves around in terms of learning the notes, and the arrangement in a sense builds the song. So there are 3 verses. In the final verse there's a transposition, and the music builds up, and as we layer up I add more kind of block gospel harmony from the SATB choir who are accompanying Song number 3 is all about noise, and I was inspired by a poem of Michael's that begins with some just sounds really, and the sounds he had were chugga chugga chugga, jibba jabba jabba, row. There's also a psht. So the first thing that happens is we get this stack with one group going chugga chugga chugga, and we've got row. 4 groups, we've got a group, and then so it's a nice thing to work on. You can do it as a workshop piece or just as a warm-up in the group without the song. And the whole song then is all about fast words. There's a chorus that goes pop, 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 got to pop, can't stop, pop, pop to the shop, pop where, pop, pop to the shop, can't stop, pop, pop. It's not hard to learn, but once you've learnt it, you want to kind of make use of it. So I've utilised that a number of times through the structure as it builds up. There's a main tune in the middle of it. In the street and beneath my feet, I feel the purring and the murmuring of tubes and pipes. All the people in the houses, shops and factories. For this is there's a piano score which you can rehearse this piece with, and you can actually perform it just with piano. Ideally you would use the extra instruments. There's a bass or bass guitar, a drum kit player, and also an extra percussionist, because there's lots of weird and wonderful percussion sounds that I've utilised to kind of keep the score exciting. And there's also a solo sax part which provides some extra melodic texture throughout the piece. movement. It's called Stories, and Michael has written lots of wonderful poems about stories, and he is just a fantastic storyteller. He tells great histories about families, about his own families, about people he's met, about coming from different places into a city, because often people who arrive in a city, if they've come from another place, bring with them the stories of the other places that they have lived in and the other things that have happened to them, and those stories then become part of this larger city dimension. So the fourth song is all about stories. It's in a sort of blues tempo.
Stories take us to where we fly. What might be and what could be. Story, 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 possibility.
Story, story, possibility. We had loads of fun making sure that last T from the kids, they loved doing it. It didn't get too early. Story, 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 possibility.
When I shut my eyes and go to sleep, I think on all sorts of things. I hear the songs and leaves of songs, songs that my mother sings. She sings all the time as me. She sings all the time to love. I am what I am in my life. I am what I dream in my dreams. In my dreams. In my dreams. In my dreams. When I shut my eyes and go to sleep, I think all sorts of things.
There's a song then about love, and this is a kind of gospel ballad. And Michael came up with this lovely lyric. There are times when love is hiding. There are times when love's all gone. There are times when love's not there. There are times when love's forgotten. There are times when love's afraid, and there's no love to share. You can find love in music. You can find love in a book. You can find love in the city.
You can find love in the city. You can find love where you love. That is what we need. Love is what we need to give. That is what we long for.
But there, just that melody line there. Again, it's not taking us too high. Love is what we long for. So that's the big note that I've gone for there. It's only a C, but bearing in mind some of these youngsters are just 9. It's it can be a very big note, and it was really thrilling when we had the full group of singers. We had about I think 150 young voices singing at the premiere, and just as they reach up, long for, there's a prologue at the end which reprises the material of the city rhythm at the start. Again, that's a way to give a sort of architecture to the whole piece that doesn't overload the youth singers with extra material, because I'm able to use a version of the first song at the end to provide the bookending for the whole piece. The final other song is called Noodles, and it's kind of a nonsense song, really. It's all about loving food and mentioning as many kind of foods as possible, and it's got various elements. It's got this bass riff which goes doom doom doo ba doo boo da, doom doom doo ba doo doo da, doom doom doo ba doo doo da, doom doom doo ba doo doo da. That they're shouting: a gingerbread man, a frying pan, a piece of cake, a headache, and noodles. And it proved to be very popular with our youngsters. I think they enjoyed the collision of these really fantastical and fun words and idea of talking about different foods with the musical content. Especially when you're working with great text like I was in this piece from Michael Rosen, it's really important that the music serves that. It doesn't get in the way of the words. It allows the performers to express the words with a lot of joy and a lot of energy, because, and this is true for all choral music, what we're doing is we're harnessing the energy and the life force of our singers. Whether that is in a very serious piece for adult voices, or a more sort of fun work like this for youth voices, the same energy is there, which is the energy of people alive, singing together and expressing the emotions of the music. And it's the thing that we love. Those of us who are involved in choral singing, it's the thing I think people love when they hear choruses singing. It's that sense of shared breath, shared energy, and shared love of the music making.
Underneath the cheese roll.